Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. It is 11 a.m. on Monday. You know what that means. It is time for a weekly futures show, futures trading with NinjaTrader. We got a half hour to talk about the major stock index futures, some crazy moves in commodity land. If you have any questions about futures and trading them at all, now is the time. So ask away, smash that like button, and here we go. Joining me now, Jim Cagnina, Senior Education and Training Specialist for the NinjaTrader platform. Mr. Cagnina, how was your weekend? How are we doing today? We're red a little bit.
Yeah, no, weekend was good. Thanks for asking, Spencer. We are a lot of stuff to talk about today. So it's a good thing I had some rest on Sunday. But yeah, I mean, the $1,000,000 question is where's the low? When's the low end? You turn on TV, it's mostly doom and gloom. You look at some of the Twitter feeds, it's mostly doom or gloom. We had a huge, I don't know what to make of it, a huge rally on Friday. And there's my crosshairs right there. Big green candle here, over 100 points, high to low, really big. Today, we didn't get continuation buying yet. We didn't have a terribly nasty sell-off. I mean, if you consider 20 minus 29 in the S&P, not nasty, which these days isn't.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I got my retracement in line. I really want to see that 23.6% close above that before I could breathe a little bit easier in the S&P 500.
So you're not bullish. You've been pretty bearish. I don't know how long now, Jim. For a while now. I've sort of lost track of how long it's been. But you're not quite bullish yet. You still need to see more.
Yeah, and from a daily, intraday trade point of view, I'm open-minded. Remember, in futures we can go short, we can go long, we can go long, we can go short, whatever you want to do. So I'm a little bit open-minded when I look at a daily chart.
Okay.
I'm not overwhelmingly bearish, but that's kind of where my bias is.
Yeah. Does that apply to all the major equity markets right now?
Pretty much. I mean, we could just shoot through them really quickly. So NASDAQ is structurally the same, systematically the same. I did draw a rectangle above these kind of candles to suggest, hey, this is a potential area of resistance. So now I'm thinking, hey, when we get up here, I'm looking for areas to sell possibly, as opposed to areas of support where the low is, 2 sessions ago, Thursday's low. So that one's looking, I think, a little bit weaker than the others. RTY today is actually looking relatively strong even though we're down about 9.7, relatively stronger than the other stock indexes most of the morning so far, even though we have a red candle so far. But again, looking at the pattern here, it's systematically the same as all the stock index futures. And then the YM, again, is really, really close to the S&P. So with that big candle and now kind of a little bit of a sell-off going down, the velocity isn't too horrible. So I'm, again, open-minded here on the stock index futures.
Have we taken any trades today, Jim?
A million. I mean, not a million, several. We had several in our live session this morning. Anybody can come to it. It's every morning, 9, 10 in the morning. It's called the opening range on NinjaTrader events webpage. And so we had some successes and we had some failures. And, that's the beauty of doing this event in the morning is, you see what I'm doing. And if I'm wrong, I'm going to take some notes. And,
care to share what those trades were?
I mean, we're all over the map here, but let me kind of better than that. Let me see if I could pull up really quickly my notes. Because I have my journal this morning, VIX at 30, and this is going to lead into our tip of the week. When the VIX is at 30, this is a mistake I made on one trade. When the VIX is at 30, use micros. Right, the micro stock index futures are 1/10 the size of the regular contract, and they give you the ability to trade the whole range at a relatively, what I'm going to call better risk profile, right? Because they're 1/10 the size, and it's easy to scale in and scale out of them. Respect the pivot, R1 and S2. I completely disrespected it on this trade that we're talking about. Wait for bullet number 3. Wait for that second 10-minute bar in the stock index futures on the open before you jump in. The first 10 minutes, institutional folks coming in doing their thing. The second 10 minutes, reaction off of that first 10 minutes, and then continuation of the institutional. Then after that, for the rest of us day traders, look for areas of interest as well. And then finally,
real fast for Aaron and Reese in the chat. Aaron, I think the question you're asking is referring to that show, that stream that Jim just mentioned. I'm going to drop the link in the chat right there, but it's also NinjaTrader. It's also the link that's scrolling on the bottom of the screen there. NinjaTrader.com/events is where you'll find it, but I put the specific link for you. I think that's what you're referring to in the chat. So sorry to interrupt him.
That's okay. Yeah, the opening range. Yep. And then lastly, we have number 4. I had made a bond trade, and I wrote, be aware of belief perseverance bias. I know I have it on treasury bonds. I want to just sell. I never want to buy. And this is a lifelong problem for me. I wrote it down in my journal. I'm going to try to do better. So that was kind of this morning. And right now I'm just looking for a turnaround in the Russell, and I can kind of show you it really quickly before you go over to the stock. Before we go over to the other asset classes, let me just pull up my 10-minute chart. And here's what we have right now. Trade idea point of view. Don't follow along at home, folks. This is just, again, real-time simulated live practice account. Past performance not indicative of future results. Keep that in mind. And right now I have a long position at 1781 in the third. You see that little cocktail stir label there. When you say cocktail stir to Spencer now, he's like, yeah, I was in Vegas this weekend. And so I have one unit on the table, right? I want to try to sell a unit at the top between the 50% and the 61% retracement, right above the volume weighted average price. And then I want to pick up a second unit at the pivot, at this daily pivot down here toward the low. And in that case, I'd be long 2 contracts. So that's kind of the general strategy. We'll manage stops and targets as we go. Sure. But again, Russell 2000, I think, is a little bit stronger today than the other stock index futures.
All right, maybe let's move away from the stocks into anything else.
Gold, bearish.
Right. Gold it is.
This is almost -1. The correlation between gold and the dollar index, the U.S. dollar, is almost 100% right now. They're going in opposite directions, looking for places to sell gold. We're definitely in bear mode right here in gold. We're in a nice little channel. Today we do have a little bit of a doji, hammer doji, right? And if we end here with the hammer doji, that will be an interesting kind of technical analysis pattern, because a lot of times hammer dojis at the bottom of trend moves suggest a turnaround the next day. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying it's something I have my eye on right now. But generally, overall, I'm looking for places to sell gold futures today.
All right. What about the rest of the metals?
There's nothing of interest on the rest of the metals except for maybe copper. So copper, again, this is, in my mind, we talked about this a couple times, a proxy for China, right? Kind of like, all right, as China's COVID hit, lockdown, 0 tolerance lockdown hit, protect the elderly, get it, okay? But demand for copper is going down ever since, and we see it in the pricing right here. So big downward market in pricing. But again, I'm keeping my eye on this thing, because forget about trading it for a second. It's, hey, what's the relationship between this market and what's going on in China? And I think there's a relationship there. So that's why it's important to me.
Okay. So, but you're not trading copper here right now.
No, but I would be looking for places to sell, right? And again, until we get a close below the 23 points, above the 23.6, which is approximately 427.48, right where my crosshairs is. I'll be looking for places to sell all in that range.
All right. So again, selling pops. The theme here is selling pops. That's the thing. Yeah.
Now we could argue the opposite here in crude oil, right? Buying dips. We have last 4 sessions, buyers have dominated crude. If we close over this $110 WTI benchmark crude price, I feel like we can go a lot higher. And this,
Really?
all the energies across the board are like this. And so again, I'd be looking for places to buy this particular market, crude oil futures.
Really? Yeah, if you zoom out, at least on the daily, you can see we've really just been bunching up, going kind of just nowhere. Just it's been trade the range for like what 2 months now in
Yeah,
in crude,
yeah, yeah, for
and so
sure.
so just technically because it's near the top of that range right now. I'm not sure what, yeah, maybe you call the range.
Yeah, this
One
plateau right here at
yeah,
50% about, yeah.
right. So okay, so you're looking to buy crude here, even though it's at the top of the range where it's been.
Yes, trend is your friend. I don't know of any like fundamentals that are going to suggest this is out of whack with reality. We have the Wednesday EIA inventory report coming out, which could move the needle a little bit, but overall, the macroeconomics of this makes sense, right? There's all sorts of supply chain, the war going on, import export friction throughout the world, and these are global markets.
Okay, okay. Hey, look, that's what makes the market. So interesting to hear you say that. What else? Gasoline futures. You love your gasoline futures, Jim. What do
I
what do
know.
you what do you see here?
I see. I'm canceling my summer vacation. The Griswolds are staying in the backyard. I
Oh,
mean, this is again, it's we killed our target right here, which was established by my, I don't know, my ellipse at 82.71, and we kept on going. I mean, we broke that double top convincingly. Again, I think we have some issues with supply chain and processing, so we're going to probably be making higher highs going forward. Gasoline futures looking for places to buy right now until a point when we don't. This was a good chart though from a technical analysis point of view. We had a big rally up here in gas futures, and then we had 2 days of pretty a decent amount of selling. That didn't sustain. We kept cooking. We might see a couple of red candles, but I think overall the trend is up.
okay, fair enough. Maybe you want to look at some bond stuff, some Bitcoin, some crypto. Oh, can we talk Bitcoin for a second?
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
There you
Okay.
go.
I can't wait to hear your take on this.
you know, I my take has become kind of, a lot of my take is from you. When you told me, hey, look at the correlation between the Nasdaq stock index, Nasdaq 100, and the Bitcoin, and they're correlated. I was like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. And then I looked at it, and I'm like, wow, Spencer is onto something keen here, and it's true. They seem to be related, these two markets. I don't know if it's because the type of person that buys tech stock is the same type of person that buys Bitcoin or vice versa. I don't know. But yeah, I'm looking for places to sell right now until we get to that 61.8%, which is 34 to 30, 34 to 33.
Beach Bum just said, guess I need to find some ETFs to swing gasoline long or short. Well, you could do that, Beach Bum, but that's also the idea of this show is that you could just as easily do it via futures. So
Well, and I'm going to suggest that it's easier to do it in futures. I mean, the bid-ask spread's what it is. That shows you there's one liquidity pool, there's one transparent exchange, first in, first out. You don't have to worry about who your ETF vendor is to deal with, where that trade's going, what broker's buying order flow, and then what ECN it goes to. Sorry.
And Will NYC is asking what broker this is. This is NinjaTrader. It's on the screen. The link is on the screen. There's links in the description to learn more. But the reason we're talking about futures with NinjaTrader specifically is that the platform. I mean, they've won the Our Benzinga FinTech Award for best platform for futures for a reason. They've won it several times now because the platform is ideal for futures trading. So if you're going to trade futures, I would recommend checking out NinjaTrader. Again, that's why we do the show with them. So I hope that answers your question, Will, in New York City. All right, so Bitcoin. I'm sorry.
So
What was the takeaway here? I'm sorry.
I'm looking for places to sell until we get a close above that 61.8%, or the Nasdaq starts rallying like crazy. So this is until the Nasdaq gets stronger, until we get over this 61.8%. Those are the two things I'm looking for before I'm not looking for places to sell anymore.
All right. Story of the day.
Now, one thing on this note too, remember we're adding a new, on that events page that Spencer pointed out, we're adding a new show.
Okay.
It's called The Benefits of the Futures with Anthony Credelli. That's this Thursday. And Anthony's literally, his very first topic out of the book is how to hedge your NFTs using micro Bitcoin futures and Ether futures. I can't wait to watch it. It's going to be awesome.
This is the page, the link. I'll put the link back up on the screen. This is the link that Jim is referring to. It's on the bottom of the screen there. This is the page, ninjatrader.com/events. He's referring to.
It's Thursday.
Thursday's,
Benefits of futures. A little bit further. There you go.
I don't know what days anything is, but that's
it's free. It's streaming on the YouTube channel. Just follow the link, and you'll be in good shape.
There we go. All right. Bitcoin looking to sell. What else is new?
Let's jump over to currencies real fast.
Yeah.
U.S. dollar is strong across the board. Euro FX is looking weak, even though there's some chatter about maybe trying to be more aggressive this summer with respect to their tightening policies and their interest rate policies. We'll see what the ECB does. But again, I'm looking for places to sell here. We had a huge sell-off on Thursday. And that was a lot of factors, but we broke on through that previous level previous level of support, which we had up there. We plowed through it. I think there's a lot of downside here, and I think there's a lot of downside in the British pound US dollar cross. I'll be looking for places to sell this one as well. I think the Bank of England is hit. It has their act together, but they don't have, they're voting on things 6-3. The votes are tight. There's a lot of conflict going on over there. So I'm literally looking for places to sell British pound. And finally, Japanese yen, also looking for places to sell. So from a currency point of view, US dollar strong. Any currency cross versus the US dollar, we could look at it and consider going short those crosses.
Consider going short any currency against the dollar.
Well, not anyone, but at least the three I mentioned. So the euro, right? The British pound sterling, or cable, as some of us old folks call it, and the Japanese yen.
The other way of saying that was you could just go along the U.S. dollar index, right?
Yeah.
The way of putting that.
Yeah. I mean, again, a couple of little red baby bars here, but I mean, this trend is pretty powerful. Look how strong it is.
What's the symbol on the U.S. dollar index futures?
It's DX. So D is in David, X is in X-ray, and then the front month is June 2022.
Okay.
It's just shooting over here. I'm doing a leapfrog real quickly. There was some chatter about wheat. Sure enough, we gapped up on wheat. The chatter is that literally, I just cut and paste this. Wheat prices surged to the highest in more than 2 months following India's ban on exports. So remember, when you're trading futures, you have all the asset classes available to you with a level 2 trading ladder and all that stuff. And wheat is one of them. Very good market. Again, a global marketplace for food stuff, right? So this was the big surprise of the day, this gap up in wheat.
and because that's like a fundamental headline, right? You have a real piece of news out there. It's not just I don't know. It's not just the market being the market. There's actual news, the reason behind it. Does that change how you approach like the candle at all, or is it a candle in your opinion?
So that's a great question. I love that question. I take more stock in the candle than the news, because you could always backfill what the news was. You could always figure out later what the reason was, right? But since this happens in real time, looking at the candles telling me where buyers and sellers are deciding this market should be. And so when I see this structure up here, and I'm like, why? How did that happen? Do I have a mistake in my data? Do I have to refresh my data or something weird going on? But then no, do a little research. Here's the most likely culprit, and things like that impact the commodities. Usually it's weather reports, soil conditions, the cost of energy, the cost of transportation and storage, all these fundamental factors for stuff like wheat and corn. But then when you think about it, with Ukraine out of action, this is a global, exporters have to kick in to to feed the world. And so that's going to cause this price dislocation.
Okay.
And you can see it in the substitute in corn. Let's shoot over there. Buyers are coming back into corn. Prices are again over that 23.6%. We're looking for places to buy here. Here's my target, the top of my channel.
That's your target places to buy? Oh
No,
no.
no. Looking for places to buy now. My target
Oh, okay,
was,
okay, okay,
this
okay.
high here. Sorry if I didn't say that
So,
right.
so when
823.
when you say you're looking for places to buy, that's in this case that's the 23.6 fib line. That's 796.20. That's where you would buy this here.
Yeah, I mean, from a position trade point of view, a long-term point of view, I really like these Fibonacci lines along with the structure of the candle. So 23.6 is something to consider. 38.2, if we ever get down there, is something to consider. You could draw a trend channel here as well, kind of give you some other areas of interest. And then there's this plateau right here. I don't know if you see it. We kind of dipped underneath my trend line, and then we kind of plateaued around right where we're at, actually, 797.5. Another area of interest, which correspondingly lines up with the 23.6. So that's a really happy place for me to consider as we see what happens with gold. And it's a food substitute, so it's important.
Raj wants to know, Jim, is NinjaTrader available in Canada? You know.
The trading platform, well, it depends. NinjaTrader is a broker neutral platform, and so you got to find a broker in Canada that provides for NinjaTrader, and you could just Google it. NinjaTrader brokerage, which I'm not a part of, by the way. You would not be able. A Canadian citizen would not be able to open an account directly with them. But because it's a broker neutral platform, I think you could find one that can.
Okay. Did we run through all the major markets, Jim, or I feel like we missed a couple?
Pretty much. The only one we missed was bonds, really.
Yeah, I knew we missed one.
U.S. Treasury bonds. This is actually a good story to tell. We were in a pretty significant bear market, right? Treasuries are, or financials as they call them. Treasuries are priced inversely to yield, right? So they're inversely related. So as interest rates come down, conventional wisdom is some of these treasury instruments the price should go down because yields are going up. Rates are going up. And we saw this as a trend, and I still think it's a trend down. But starting here on the 9th, we had a green candle, and buyers came in all the way up to that 23%. In what should be a bear market, buyers came in here. And in my opinion, at this point in time, there was a transfer of money, right? From equities. Folks were taking money out of equities. We saw price dislocate, come down, and putting money into treasuries. And that caused that price appreciation, which of course does the opposite for yields. So I think we'll end up being back on track on the downward side. But I'm staying out of it. Again, I have this bias on bonds. I always think they should go down. Right now, because of that, I'm stepping away from it. But eventually, we'll get underneath my trend line.
Okay. There was a comment in the chat from Easy Mike that Bostic is speaking at noon. Bostic is one of the Fed presidents, and that actually leads nicely, Jim, into our tip of the week. So, are we ready for that?
Yeah.
All right, let's get that tip of the week up there.
All right, let me just make this bigger. There we go. Oh, tip of the week. Where are we at? Where'd it go? All right, so there's two things to think about. Number one, tomorrow, I believe it's 2 p.m. East Coast time, Chairman Powell is speaking. He's got, not only does he have a red dot on Econo Day next to his name, he has a red name. They highlight the only thing that's ever highlighted text in red is Chairman Powell on the calendars, and the economic release calendars. It's going to be a big deal. It always is when he speaks, and things move. So be on your toes, be careful. I probably wouldn't try to get in front of it. I would wait to react to see what happens after he speaks. But that's him. And then, as you pointed out earlier, Spencer, a whole bunch of other Fed folks are coming out of the woodwork this week as well.
So how do we how do we trade this? You said you probably wouldn't jump in front of Jerome Powell here. I presume that means you wouldn't want to do anything super crazy today or tomorrow morning. But walk me through the scenario analysis here. I assume you're watching it. What are you doing?
Yeah. So the I don't think you have to worry too much until you get to 2 o'clock, right? Until you get to showtime. because typically what happens, and I don't even know what event he's speaking at, but typically what happens, he reads some notes and then takes questions. And then, so there's two segments of his presentation, right? Notes, which, okay, you expect it, which are usually published ahead of time. And then the questions, which are wild, it could be anything. So I would, when I'm after he gets started here, I'm looking at pivot numbers, the pivot S1, R1, and we'll go to a chart in a minute. But those are the levels I'm looking at as targets for the market to hit in the middle of his action, in the middle of his speaking. Just as a general rule. And then lastly, and we'll take a look at that right now, but I just wanted to mention VIX over 30 or near 30. If you're trading futures, guys, consider the stock index futures micros as your friends. They are your friends. You could scale in better. You could have a much deeper breadth of action. You could put your stops further away because your relative risk is less. If you compare it to a classic versus a micro, micros are your friends when you get to, for stock index futures, when you get to 30.
Tomorrow Jerome Powell is speaking at a Wall Street Journal event. So not like an official. I mean, it is an official speech, but it's not as if it's part of the the Federal Reserve's calendar.
Got it. I got it. But it'll every word he will, we will hinge on every single word. And on that note, today, you were right, Spencer. We might be a little anticipatory of that, right? We had the point of control from Friday is right approximately 40.15 in the S&P. Let me make this a little bit bigger so everyone can see it. Which means there was a lot of price happiness on Friday, a lot of volume at that level. Today, the volume price happiness has dropped down to just south of 4,000. That's where we're trading at right now. A lot of volume down at 4,000. So when you look at these two areas, you could think, well, maybe right in advance of tomorrow, we might end up in this price happiness area because everyone's waiting for what Powell's going to say. And that's very possible. When he is speaking, I just have daily pivots up here. Here's the pivot.
Wait, briefly explain those.
The pivot?
Yep.
Okay, so the daily pivots are just, it's a widely accepted technical analysis tool. It's a calculation based on the previous session's range for the previous session's day. And it consists of what's called the pivot point, which is PP right here at 39.88. And then when you go up higher, there's an R1. This is resistance 1. If you go really far up, there's R2, resistance 2. So these are targets, long-term targets, especially in front of something like Powell speaking. Then on the bottom, you have support 1, S1, and
that's
go really far down.
That's an awfully long ways away. Jim, in all honesty, how useful is that really? It's so far from the market right now. How useful is that?
All right. So one thing, the pivots in the S1s and R1s are a function of the previous day's range. So the smaller the range, the tighter they become. So they're going to be different. They will be different tomorrow because today's range is less, right?
Yeah.
Than it was on Friday. So they're going to be tighter together. So just imagine R1 being where my crosshairs is as an example. We won't know until we get there. But they're real. They happen more times than not on really big trending days. So if Powell, says something that the market's going to think is very positive, we could easily have an up 80, 90 day in the S&P. If he says something that's going to be very negative, we could easily have an 80, 90 handle point down move on any given day. So again, looks far, but it's not that far. I mean, it's only 70 handles away. Probably won't get there today, but you never know. And it's going to be tighter tomorrow because the range is less today.
Yeah. All right. If there are any questions in the chat, please ask away. We're on with Jim Cagnina. He's the senior education and training specialist for the NinjaTrader platform. He joins us every single Monday for a half hour. And we spend this time talking about futures and only futures because futures are people too, and they have feelings. So ask away. And if not, Jim, any final thoughts for us here?
No, I appreciate being here, Spencer. And, if you guys want to kind of come to any of the live trading events, trade idea events we have in the mornings, they're every morning, in the afternoon, they're every afternoon on that events page. We have a little bit more time in those events, and we could answer any questions. We're very interactive in those events.
That event's URL is scrolling across the bottom of the screen. I will also add there are a number of other links and resources, free resources that are in the description of this video. I would encourage you all to check those out as well. In the meantime, we'll be back with Jim Cagnina next Monday. And Jim, we'll talk to you then. Maybe next week it'll be bullish, although I doubt it based on the last.
And we'll see. We'll see. I have high hopes.
We'll see. All right. Everyone do me a solid. Smash that like button. Jim, we'll talk to you later. Guys, I'm going to hop as well because I got to go over to Benzinga Live. I got Aaron Bree with me here. We're going to be recapping all the highlights from FinTwit 2022 in case you missed it, which is a shame if you did. So I'll catch you guys over there in a few minutes. Drop me a like while you're here. I'd appreciate that. And I'm going to redirect you over right now. See you soon.